I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, March the 6th, brought to you in part by Mush Rush Red Angus. The Mush Rush family lives and works amongst their cattle, and they know the importance of having genetics that work for you. On March the 20th, they're going to be offering 200 head of Red Angus bulls in the Flint Hills of Kansas. You can get a stout, Flint Hills developed, 18-month-old Red Angus bull, or a Red Angus Simmental composite, whichever one will work best for you. They're also offering a pot load of Red Angus fall bred heifers and 35 open spring heifers. You can see their videos on dvauction.com or visit mushrusredangus.com. The basis grew on Thursday, and there was absolutely no chance that we were going to have the Northern Plains hold the market or gain any ground with the board down hard on Thursday, and then your South already pulling the rug out from under them earlier to midweek there, $2 lower. So we knew what was going to happen. They were just sitting ducks, and if we do not establish minimum requirements for negotiated cash trade, we're going to continue down this slope, and we're just like a snowball headed for hell, guys. And that would not eliminate basis jumpers, but it would let the guys that don't take the basis jump to have confidence that packers are still going to need to buy more cattle cash. And so they could sit back and wait and kind of hold their cattle and hope for a better market. But I tell you what, if we don't do something, we're just absolutely doomed. I tell you what, we've got an opportunity to get this done here, and people are wondering how we're going to get it all to take place. And you know, I've criticized the NCBA before, a lot of you have, but NCBA is on this. And it's not them that have their head in the sand, it's the entire industry that has its head in the sand. And most of you know what's going on, you just refuse to address it. But NCBA is on this, they're looking at it. I invite you guys to look at the work of Dr. Stephen Koontz from Colorado State University. He has looked into this, he's done a lot of research on it, and he agrees that we've got to get something done here. And this idea of a minimum requirement of negotiated cash trade, it's not my idea, it's not a novel idea. And it's been thought of for a long time. You know, we didn't need it back 60 to 120 years ago when the cattle were sold primarily in your terminal markets on the bricks, because you know, we had fair trade, negotiated cash trade at that time. And so if you guys will go and look at the work of Dr. Stephen Koontz there, he's preaching the same stuff, he just does it a whole lot more eloquently and politically correct than I do, but he backs it up with facts and has run a lot of analysis on this kind of stuff. But we're wondering, how in the world are we going to enforce it? How are we going to get a law made or whatever? And most people are worried because they know if we establish a law, it's probably going to be packers and stockyards that's going to have to be relied on to enforce that, and they don't have any confidence in the packers and stockyards. If the P&S had continued to do their job like they did in the terminal markets, we didn't have these sweetheart deals and things back in those days, because we had P&S agents on the bricks amongst the trade watching over things. It's when the feedlot industry went commercialized and they moved out to the arid regions and built the bigger feedlots. That's when they quit enforcing P&S regulation, and so that was the beginning of it. And now we've got to the crossroads where if we don't do something about this, we're going to completely lose our industry. But I think there's a way that we can enforce this through MPR, mandatory price reporting. Mandatory price reporting is a law. You can go in there and amend it and make changes to help the industry, make your market more transparent. And it has to be reauthorized every 5 years. As luck would have it, it's this year, and we can go in there and make some changes, but it's got to pretty much go through NCBA working committees, and that's where the rubber meets the road on that. That's where all your policy takes place, and not that the other cattlemen's groups aren't important, it's just that's the way it's set up right now, and they are looking into it. But we've got to get something done about this. And if we don't, we're just doomed. And I tell you what, we've got to continue to work on this and push on it, and tell your friends and neighbors, and spread the word on what we're looking at, because if we don't start doing it, we're going to run the independent feeders out, and we're going to just have about maybe a dozen corporate feedlots left. And then how long do you think it's going to take before your demand just completely evaporates for your feeder cattle? And you cow-calf guys, that's going to come down to your calves. And then once you can't get a good price for your calves, you're not going to be able to keep your ranch. And then the ranch communities are going to fall on their face. And then before you know it, the only cowboys left in this country are the ones doing the line dance to the honky-tonk badonkadonk. And I tell you what, we've got to do something here. And if we don't get after it, we are absolutely doomed. But please look into it and pay attention to what's going on here. If we don't, there's not much left here. And you say, why am I preaching about it? It's something that I feel very strongly and passionate about. You guys know that I promote and talk about your livestock auction markets all the time, because I got a passion for the auction business and for keeping market transparency in your feeder cattle markets. But I tell you what, it's going to be just like dominoes if this thing continues to fall. And we've got to get ahead of it. And some people think it's too late already. Well, maybe it is, but if we don't start trying a little bit, it's damn sure going to be too late. So try to do something, guys. Look at the board for Thursday. April live cattle futures down $2.62 at 108.65. That's your spot market. April live cattle futures price for fed cattle. It's just, I was saying there several months ago, it might be hard to keep this live cash trade over $1. Absolutely. I don't think there's any way we can keep it over $1 with big offerings on the show list coming as your temperatures warm up. You look at June live cattle futures down $1.87 at 102.65. Your out fronts were down, but not as hard as your nearbys. March feeder cattle down $1.22 at 133.62. April down $1.90 at 133.65, and all the rest of your out fronts were down just about that hard. So your fat cattle trade, well, we knew that the Southern Plains, they pulled the plug earlier in the week at 113, $2 lower when the board was up big. And now the Northern Plains had no choice, and then with the board down hard on Thursday, they were sitting ducks. They sold most of their live cattle at 113, and that was $2 lower, but steady with the Southern Plains. They did have a spread in Iowa and Nebraska from 112 to 115, but it was mostly 113. Their dress trade was not any better either. It was 180 to 182 and had trade in all three of those, 180, 181, 182. That's $3 to $5 lower for the week there. Iowa had confirmed sales of about 8,300. Nebraska almost 16,000. Kansas another 8,300 with week to date of 21,500. And Texas about 2,100 confirmed on Thursday and a week to date of 5,700. Box beef cutout values were kind of mixed. Choice cuts 207 1/4 up 43 cents. Selects down 45 cents at 201.06. Choice select spread $6.19. Your slaughter's been pretty brisk as hard as the market is and everything. 490,000 through Thursday. That's 3,000 more than last week and 21,000 more than the same week a year ago. Look at your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DB auction, 133.88 up 1 penny. That's a 7-day moving average of all your 7 to 899 pound steers up through your middle 12 states. Just like the CME feeder cattle index, the latest available there was only a nickel 100 difference at 133.83. Look at your big sales on Thursday. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, Salina, Kansas, 2,300 head there. No comparisons really, because they've had such light runs due to kind of a winter storm that they had the last week or so, and then also the market's been down so hard that your sellers just decided to hold back, and your market was quite a bit higher compared to the lighter runs that they had last week. And if you look at the automated market report on Cattle Market Central, you can see that. Let's look at your best tested weights on steers. 264 head of 7-weight steers averaged 742 at 138.89. That was about $8 higher than the light run of last week. 474 head of 8-weight steers averaged 849 at 126.67. That was over $5 higher. And on some heifers, 273 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 741 at 126.38, about $3 higher. Pratt, Kansas, winter livestock, about 3,700 head there, and a good run, $1 to $4 higher, except for steers weighing over 8, and they were lower. You look at a pretty good quote coming out of winter livestock in Pratt, Kansas, 76 head of 725-pound steers at 154, and that's about as good anywhere in the country. Mitchell livestock in Mitchell, South Dakota, 6,200 head there. That's nothing for them to have a big sale. They're the ones that can sell those big backgrounded cattle pretty darn good. Their feeder steers were steady to $3 higher. Instances $5 to $7 higher on some middleweights. Feeder heifers steady to $5 higher, with instances as much as 10 on some heifers. Look at an individual quote, and I like to talk about the heavy backgrounded steers in Mitchell, South Dakota. 52 head, 993 pounds. I mean, that's pushing 1,000 pounds, guys. 123.10, and that's not too awful bad when you look at a market that's at 113. Big quote I'm going to give you is out of an area that's outside the major thoroughways of the cattle region, but Wilcox, Arizona, Wilcox Livestock Auction, 82 head of little 400-pound desert calves at $190. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.